They walked in expecting nothing more than a simple meal. But the moment the host looked at them, everything changed. The whispers, the stares, and then those words no paying customer should ever hear. "We don't serve people like you." Humiliated in front of a crowded room, the couple stayed quiet, at least for now. What no one in that restaurant knew was that this wasn't just any couple. The truth would turn the entire place upside down and leave everyone speechless. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. After weeks of nonstop work, Marcus and Lena finally had a free evening. They chose a well-known restaurant in the city, a place they had passed by many times but never visited. Dressed in their best, with smiles that carried the relief of a long week, they walked through the glowing glass doors, ready to enjoy a quiet dinner together. The room buzzed with laughter, glasses clinking, and the faint aroma of roasted herbs drifting through the air. But as they stepped inside, the mood shifted. A hush seemed to ripple across nearby tables, subtle yet sharp enough to be felt. Marcus noticed the way one server paused mid-step, eyes narrowing just slightly, while Lena caught the uncomfortable glances that darted their way before quickly looking back down at menus. Still, they pushed forward, determined not to let anything spoil the evening. They approached the front desk where the host stood, smiling politely at the group ahead of them. But when it was their turn, the smile faded. The warmth that had greeted the others was suddenly gone, replaced by a cold, appraising stare. Lena glanced at Marcus, sensing something wasn't right. They had no idea yet, but this dinner would be remembered not for the food, but for the insult about to be delivered, and the shocking truth that would follow. The host's lips tightened as he scanned his book of reservations. His finger traced an invisible line down the page before he looked up with a flat tone. "We're full tonight." Marcus glanced past him. The dining room had several empty tables, neatly set with polished silver and untouched wine glasses. He kept his voice calm. "That's fine, we're willing to wait." But the host shook his head, voice firmer this time. "No, you don't understand. We don't have space for you." Lena felt her stomach knot. She could hear a small group of diners nearby stifle laughter. One woman leaned toward her friend and whispered something, eyes darting in their direction. Heat flushed Lena's face as she realized what was happening. Marcus tried again, keeping his composure. "We just want a table. Any table." The host's eyes hardened. "Sir, I'm going to ask you to leave. This establishment has a standard to maintain." The words cut deep, not just a refusal, but a declaration that they didn't belong. Around them, the clinking of glasses and polite chatter seemed louder, almost mocking. Lena wanted to walk out, to escape the humiliation, but Marcus placed a steady hand on hers. He could feel her trembling. They had experienced subtle slights before, longer waits, being ignored for service, but this was blatant, public, degrading. As they stood frozen, a manager appeared, alerted by the commotion. He glanced at them, then at the host, who gave a slight nod as if to confirm they were the problem. Without hesitation, the manager reinforced the lie. "We're overbooked tonight. You'll need to find somewhere else to dine." The air seemed to grow heavier. Every second felt like an eternity under the weight of dozens of silent eyes. The couple was being dismissed, not because of reservations, but because of their skin. Marcus clenched his jaw, a storm brewing behind his calm exterior. Lena's eyes welled with tears, though she blinked them back, determined not to give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her break. They turned toward the door, humiliated yet composed. What no one knew was that their quiet exit was not surrender. This was only the beginning of a revelation that would shake the very walls of the restaurant and remind everyone inside that appearances can be deceiving. Marcus paused just before pushing open the heavy glass door. For a brief moment, Lena thought he was hesitating out of shame. But then, she saw the look in his eyes, calm, steady, and filled with something she hadn't seen since the early days of his career: authority. He turned back toward the host and manager, his voice low but firm. "You should be very careful about who you turn away." The manager smirked, arms folded. "Sir, please, don't make this more difficult than it already is." Marcus slipped a sleek black card from his wallet and laid it flat on the podium. The gold lettering caught the light, and the host's eyes widened before darting nervously to the manager. On the card was the unmistakable logo of the very restaurant group they were standing in, the group Marcus and Lena owned. Lena straightened her shoulders, her voice calm but cutting. This place is ours. The room seemed to freeze. Conversations halted, forks hovered midair, and a stunned silence rippled across the dining hall. Diners who had been watching with smug amusement now looked from the couple to the staff, realization dawning like a tidal wave. The manager's face drained of color. He stammered, reaching for words that wouldn't come. The host's jaw slackened as sweat pooled at his temple. Marcus picked up the card, slid it back into his wallet, and added, "Tonight, you didn't just deny a table. You denied respect. And in our establishments, that is unacceptable." Whispers spread across the restaurant like wildfire. The same people who had laughed moments earlier now shifted uncomfortably in their seats, avoiding eye contact, ashamed to be caught complicit in silence. The weight of the revelation hung in the air, pressing down on every witness. This wasn't just about dinner anymore. It was about dignity, equality, and a humiliation turned into power. The manager, pale and flustered, tried to recover. "Mr. Carter, I didn't realize." But Marcus held up a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "That's exactly the problem. You didn't care to realize." Lena's eyes swept the room, meeting the gaze of those who had stared, whispered, and laughed. For the first time that night, it wasn't shame she felt, it was strength. "We built these restaurants on the promise of good food and equal respect. Tonight you failed both." The silence was suffocating. Staff who had stood idle now shifted uncomfortably, diners bowed their heads, and the host's face burned with the weight of his actions. Marcus took Lena's hand, leading her back inside. Not as outcasts but as rightful owners. They didn't need to raise their voices. The truth alone was louder than anything they could have said. A new server, visibly shaken, rushed forward to offer them the best table in the house. But Marcus declined. "This isn't about a table. It's about a lesson." With that, they walked out, leaving behind a room heavy with guilt and the undeniable sting of truth. That night became more than just a story of humiliation. It became a reminder of how quickly prejudice can strip away humanity and how truth has the power to shatter arrogance in an instant. Because at the end of the day, respect is not a privilege reserved for some. It's a right owed to all. And the question that lingered in the minds of everyone who witnessed it was simple yet haunting. How many times does this scene play out every day, unseen, unchallenged, unspoken?